Very, very few people, if any, wake up one day and decide, I want an eating disorder. We live in a society that sends us constant messages that we need to be thin in order to be healthy, in order to be cool, and in order to be loved. We also receive the inverse of those messages just as constantly, that if we aren't thin, we are somehow weird or awkward, unlovable, and inherently unhealthy. The diet, fitness, weight loss, and fashion industries make billions of dollars a year on marketing to and profiting off of the brainwashing that they've done to implant these insecurities into our minds. While anorexia is a complex brain disease that is caused by many different factors, there is no doubt that diet culture plays a huge role in turning the anorexia switch on. My name's Rebecca Eyre. I'm a therapist and the CEO of Project Heal and a JED consulting expert. I'm here today to talk to you about diet culture and anorexia. While these campaigns to get our bodies to conform to certain beauty and health ideals is not new, the flood of these messages is more constant than ever, thanks to social media. Now they can get us in the safety of our own beds at night and first thing in the morning and in between classes as we scroll. Our brains were not built to take in this much visual information about people who look a very specific way. And so understandably, it's distorted our minds and really tricked us into thinking that there are millions of people who look like this. It's not true. There's no reason that you need to look like this, and very, very few people actually do. The reality is that our weight is actually really determined by our genes before we're even born. If you are not a naturally thin person, or if you are naturally in a larger body, you're more likely to have heard from parents and doctors early and often that you need to lose weight. Regardless of what your size is, it's really important to know that there's nothing wrong with your body, and a lot of these people's ideas about what health looks like and what bodies are quote unquote good is based on old data, bad science, and their own implicit biases. You might have gotten the clear message that you need to change your body at any cost, but I'm here to tell you that malnutrition at any size is dangerous. A lot of people with anorexia start with what they think is an innocent diet, and it hooks something in them neurochemically. Your brain typically loses neuroplasticity, which is a fancy word for the actual tissue of your brain becoming more rigid. And what happens in this case is that you might be more prone to black and white thinking or have a more difficult time learning new things. Black and white thinking is a way of describing a thought pattern where you're basically kind of all or nothing. Something's all good or all bad. It's either this or that. It's everything is in extremes, and there's not a lot of room for gray areas and nuance and things to be a little bit messy. And in fact, most of life happens in all of those in-between places and in the mess. When you're restricting, your brain releases endorphins into your body, and those actually feel really good. You might feel almost warm and fuzzy and a little bit high, a little bit calm. What's really scary about that is that it's your body's way of providing some grace around what it thinks is a famine experience, right? It's trying to protect you from the fear and the desperation that might come without having access to food. What's also scary is that those endorphins react in your brain just like heroin and can become really addictive. This is why it can be really difficult once you start down a train of restricting and once you start down a train of dieting to stop. Your brain actually gets addicted to the endorphins that are released to your brain when you're malnourished. It doesn't mean it's actually good for you just because it can feel good for a little while. There's a real danger to getting sucked in by diet culture. So let's talk about what this can look like and what you can do. If you find yourself following people on social media who are telling you specific ways to eat, specific ways to exercise, specific tips for trying to change your body to look a certain way, you might also be at risk for developing anorexia if you find yourself weighing yourself really often, spending a lot of time looking in the mirror, pinching and picking at different body parts, wondering why they don't look a certain way or why they don't look like some of the people that you follow online. You might also find yourself feeling really preoccupied with what you are about to eat or what you just ate or what you didn't eat, keeping logs, keeping track, counting calories, macros, all of those things. Anything like that that becomes obsessive and compulsive is a red flag for developing anorexia. If any of the things I've been saying in this video sound familiar to you, I have a couple of different tips that might help you curb your risk for developing anorexia. Eat more frequently throughout the day. Remember that food is allowed to be fun, it's allowed to taste delicious, it's not only fuel for your body. Unfollow people who tell you that you should look a certain way or tell you that you should eat a certain way. Unfollow people who always hit those perfect poses and angles. You know the ones I'm talking about. Unfollow people whose bodies you're comparing yourself to. And unfollow people who are focused only on exercise and six packs and different ways in which to change their body's appearance. Consider accepting your body exactly as it is, whatever it looks like and however it compares to other people. Acceptance of your body is honestly one of the most challenging things that you can do. There's a couple of different strategies that I have recommended or that I have used in my own life. Celebrating body diversity and surrounding yourself with different people who have different shapes of bodies is really helpful to just change your brain's wiring about what bodies quote unquote should look like. Another thing is to write a thank you letter to your body for some of the ways that it functions, that it keeps you alive, that it helps you move around, that it helps carry you through this world. Another thing that you might do is consider throwing away clothes that no longer fit you or covering up some of the mirrors in your house so that you're less likely to spend a lot of time fixating on your appearance. Your body is the least interesting thing about you. If you're worried you might be sucked into diet culture and don't feel like you can get out of it on your own, that's okay. It's important you talk to someone. If you're struggling to eat, feel obsessed with changing your body, or starting to notice that you might have a problem, it's critical that you reach out for help. Tell an adult and ask about treatment. The earlier you catch anorexia, the less likely it is to take over your life. Healing happens in community and connection to others. Nobody can stand up against these overwhelming cultural pressures on their own. The most important thing to know is that with access to treatment, full healing from an eating disorder is possible. If you're worried you might be restricting your food or living with anorexia, please reach out for help. You deserve it.